Have you ever wondered if nursing homes are really what they seem, or if there's more to the story than what you've been told? Before making such a life-changing decision, there are some shocking truths you need to hear. In this video, we're sharing Clara's story, an 80-year-old woman who's experienced life in a nursing home firsthand. She reveals the hidden realities that most people never consider, from the emotional toll to the financial burden, and why losing your independence in these facilities could have long-lasting consequences on your mental and physical health. Clara's wisdom goes beyond just her personal experience. Her journey will open your eyes to why a nursing home may not be the best option for everyone. You'll learn how isolation, a lack of personalized care, and the shortage of caregivers can affect your well-being in ways you can't ignore. Plus, she shares important alternatives that can provide you with the support you need while still maintaining your independence. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of what truly happens behind the walls of nursing homes and why it's essential to make an informed choice. Clara's story is not just about what you lose when you move to a nursing home. It's about what you stand to gain when you make the right choice for your future. Stay tuned, because the truth about nursing homes could change the way you approach aging forever. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. The truth about losing your independence. When Clara first stepped into the nursing home, she was filled with hope, thinking it would be a peaceful haven where she could finally unwind and enjoy the later years of her life. I imagined it would be a cozy place, a retreat where I could relax and spend my time at my own pace, she says, her voice tinged with the faintest trace of longing. But the reality hit her like a cold slap. I quickly realized that things weren't as simple as I imagined. The truth, she discovered, was far more painful than she ever anticipated. At first, it was the small things that seemed trivial to others but felt like major blows to Clara's sense of self. Simple acts that she once took for granted, like getting dressed or going to the bathroom, now required help. She had to wait for staff to assist her with basic tasks that once belonged entirely to her. It didn't feel like a helping hand anymore. It felt like a chain, Clara admits, her eyes reflecting the weight of this loss. When you're used to living on your own, when every decision, no matter how small, is yours to make, it's jarring to have someone else control your every move. The truth was that, over time, these small losses accumulated, each one gnawing away at the core of Clara's independence. At first, it was just the little things, but they quickly added up. When you can't even decide when to get up, when to eat, or when to take a walk outside, it starts to feel like you're no longer in charge of your own life, she says, a hint of frustration in her voice. Clara's sense of control slipped through her fingers like grains of sand, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of helplessness. The loss of autonomy didn't just leave her feeling frustrated, it deeply affected her mental health in ways she could never have predicted. It felt like I was regressing, like I was being treated like a child again, Clara confides, her voice breaking with the rawness of her emotions. Every day, someone was telling me what I could or couldn't do, and it made me feel small. Like I didn't matter anymore. This constant erosion of her independence chipped away at her self-esteem, leaving her feeling invisible. Day by day, she became more and more isolated, sometimes sinking into bouts of deep sadness that seemed endless. But the toll didn't stop there. Clara noticed physical changes too. Changes that reflected the emotional and mental impact of losing control. I wasn't moving as much, she says with a heavy sigh, the loss of her vitality painfully evident. I used to take long walks around the neighborhood, but now I had to ask for help just to go outside. Slowly, I felt myself growing weaker and more sluggish, like my body was betraying me. She paused, the weight of her realization hanging in the air. When you're no longer in charge of your routine, it's so easy to lose your strength, your energy, and your health. The loss of independence wasn't just an emotional blow, it was a physical one too, And Clara wants you to know that it's not just about losing your freedom. The effects are profound, and they stretch far beyond what you might expect. It's not just about missing out on the ability to do what you want when you want. It's about your entire well-being, your spirit, your mind, and your body. The reality of losing your independence is something that can impact your health in ways that are both subtle and devastating. For Clara, it was a wake-up call, one that opened her eyes to just how crucial it is to maintain some semblance of control over your life, no matter how old you are. The message is clear. Independence isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for maintaining a healthy, fulfilling life. Without it, everything else begins to crumble. And while Clara may not have the same level of control she once did, the lesson she learned has changed her forever. It's a truth we must all remember as we navigate the inevitable process of aging. We must fight to hold on to what we can, our autonomy, our dignity, and our sense of self, because without it, we lose much more than just our ability to make decisions. We lose the very essence of who we are. The real cost of nursing home care. Clara has experienced firsthand the brutal reality that the financial strain of nursing home care often remains unsaid, yet it is undoubtedly one of the most daunting obstacles families can face. When I first arrived, I assumed that the cost would be clear-cut, just a simple, fixed monthly fee, Clara reflects, a hint of disbelief in her voice as she recounts her initial expectations. But I was soon crushed by the truth. That was far from the case. Nursing homes frequently advertise an appealing base price, yet Clara quickly realized that what they present is merely the beginning of a long list of unforeseen expenses. They tell you one thing, but behind the scenes, there are hidden costs that lurk, waiting to surprise you, she explains. There are charges for everything. Need extra help with mobility? That comes with an added fee. Require specialized care or a particular kind of treatment? Another price tag. Even things like medication management or therapy sessions, each one is an additional charge. Before Clara knew it, those seemingly insignificant extra costs piled up, and soon her family was staring at a financial burden they hadn't anticipated. My daughter was taken aback when she saw the bills, Clara says, her voice filled with emotion. She thought insurance would help more, but it didn't. What we were left with was a staggering amount that no one could have predicted, and the weight of that was overwhelming. For families already stretched thin, the burden of nursing home care is not just financial. It's a constant, looming presence that can seem impossible to escape. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. What many families fail to realize is just how quickly costs can spiral out of control. There were days when my daughter had to make heartbreaking choices about which services we could afford and which ones we had to go without, Clara recalls. We had to decide between basic care and a bit of extra comfort, and trust me, those decisions were not easy to make. No one prepares you for the emotional anguish of having to choose between your loved one's dignity and the strain on your bank account. And the reality is that it isn't just about the obvious costs, the ones that come with the care itself. There are countless smaller, everyday expenses that add up without notice, catching families off guard. My daughter had to pay for my clothing, toiletries, and even the transportation fees just to visit me, Clara shares, her voice tinged with sorrow. And beyond that, there's the emotional toll, the constant worry, the sleepless nights spent stressing about how to cover these rising costs. It's a weight that's hard to describe, especially when you know there's barely anything left to save for the future. The truth Clara wants to share is that the real cost of nursing home care isn't merely about money. It's about the emotional devastation that accompanies it. Families don't just carry a financial burden, they also carry a heart-wrenching emotional load. Clara's story serves as a poignant reminder of just how quickly a decision that initially seems practical can transform into a heavy burden, one that weighs not only on the elderly person but on their loved ones as well. The financial strain is just the surface. Beneath it, the emotional cost can be even greater, silently chipping away at the joy and peace of mind that families so desperately need. The mental and emotional toll. One of the most painful and eye-opening realizations Clara had after entering the nursing home wasn't about her physical limitations. It was the deep, aching emotional and mental toll that came with the isolation. She looks back now and, with a quiet but heavy sadness in her voice, shares, "You don't truly understand how deep loneliness can cut until you find yourself sitting alone in your room, day after day, with no one to speak to." There is a rawness in her words that speaks to the heartache of those first few months. Months that stretched out endlessly, each one feeling like a small eternity. The isolation in a nursing home can become an overwhelming force, one that reaches far beyond physical solitude. Clara came to understand this reality all too well. At first, she had expected that, despite the separation from her family and friends, she could still find a way to connect with the other residents. "I thought I could make friends with the other residents, but it wasn't that simple," she says, her voice tinged with the quiet resignation of someone who has seen the truth of things. "Many of the people I met were struggling with their battles, often too sick or too tired to engage in meaningful conversation. The loneliness didn't just stem from being physically apart from loved ones. It was a much deeper emotional separation, one that crept in slowly but deeply, like a quiet storm eroding everything around her." Clara tries to explain it, but even now, it's hard for her to fully convey the magnitude of that loneliness. "Some days, I felt like I was invisible," she says, her eyes distant for a moment, as if reliving the experience. "It was like no one saw me at all. And even if they did, they couldn't truly connect with me. There were the staff, of course, kind-hearted people who did their best, but kindness alone isn't enough to fill the void of genuine human interaction. Even their smiles and warm words couldn't replace the missing laughter or the shared moments of life's little absurdities." Clara, despite the kindness surrounding her, still felt like she was drifting in a sea of emotional detachment, cut off from the outside world in ways that began to feel unbearable. As the days blended into one another, Clara found herself fading, both physically and emotionally. "I started feeling like I was disappearing," she confesses. "The days were long, so incredibly long, without anything to mark the passing of time in a meaningful way. There was no connection to ground her, no spark to ignite the fire of motivation. The absence of emotional and intellectual stimulation began to wear her down in ways she never anticipated. The loneliness didn't just affect her heart, it seeped into her mind, making her anxious and, at times, even slipping her into a deep sense of despair. Clara realized too late how profoundly isolation can distort one's mental well-being, leaving behind an emptiness that was difficult to shake, no matter how hard she tried. Clara's experience serves as a painful reminder of something many overlook: the mental and emotional toll that isolation can take on a person's well-being. "You can be surrounded by people," she says softly, "but still feel completely alone." Her words are more than just a statement. They are a cry for empathy and understanding. It's not just the loss of freedom in a nursing home that is hard to bear. It's the loss of connection, of purpose, and of that essential human link that makes life feel worth living. The mental and emotional toll of feeling cut off from the world can have far-reaching consequences on one's health and spirit, and Clara wants people to understand this before making a decision that might alter their lives in ways they can't fully grasp at the time. For Clara, the loneliness she faced wasn't just a temporary challenge. It was a constant, silent battle that changed the way she viewed aging, care, and the fundamental need for human connection. It is her deepest hope that by sharing her story, others might better understand the true weight of isolation and the silent destruction it can cause. The importance of researching facilities. Clara's journey in navigating the complicated world of nursing homes has left her with a profound lesson that she desperately wants to share with others. Choosing a nursing home is far more than just finding a clean, well-maintained building with a reputation. It's a decision that affects the quality of life for the rest of your days, and that's why it requires so much more than a surface-level inspection. "I made the mistake of assuming that all nursing homes were the same," she reflects with a sense of regret. "I thought, as long as the place looked clean and neat, that should be enough. But after everything I went through, I know now that there's so much more to consider than that." Clara's words come from a place of deep understanding, shaped by her own experience of a decision that wasn't as thoughtful as it should have been. She wants everyone, especially families considering this life-altering decision for a loved one, to understand just how crucial it is to dive deep into the reality of a facility, beyond what is presented in brochures or on a website. You need to do your homework, Clara insists with quiet intensity. Don't just rely on glossy brochures and flashy websites. The truth lies far beyond that. The reality inside those walls is often a far cry from the picture they want to paint. For Clara, this is no mere matter of preference. It's a deeply personal plea to protect future generations from making the same mistake. The importance of thoroughly researching nursing homes cannot be overstated. She encourages everyone to see past the pretty picture and ask the tough questions, ones that may not be answered in the brochure. She advises prospective residents or their families to visit the facility multiple times at different hours of the day to truly experience what life is like inside. It's easy to be impressed when you walk in during peak hours when everything is polished and the staff is on their best behavior. But what about when no one's looking? What happens late at night or on weekends when the staff may be stretched thin? Clara asks, her voice tinged with concern. You want to see the real picture, not just the one that's carefully curated for visitors. One of Clara's most poignant pieces of advice is to speak with not only the staff but also the residents and their families, if possible. Get the honest feedback, the kind you won't find on a website, she urges. Don't just trust the friendly faces. Listen to the stories of people who are living there, day in and day out. Their experiences will tell you more than anything a brochure ever could. In Clara's eyes, the quality of care offered by a nursing home is paramount. She insists on asking the hard questions about the staff-to-resident ratio, questions that many people overlook. A good facility will have enough trained staff to provide the individual care each resident deserves, she says, her tone unwavering. You don't want to find yourself in a place where the staff are overwhelmed, stressed, and unable to give you the attention you need. That's not just an inconvenience. That's a matter of your well-being. Clara also emphasizes the importance of the qualifications of the staff. Are they properly trained in senior care? Do they have experience handling specific medical needs? You need to know that the people taking care of you are equipped to do so. Her words strike a chord with anyone who's had to entrust their loved one to the care of others. It's about peace of mind. It's about knowing that someone is truly capable of taking care of you when you can no longer take care of yourself. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. But Clara doesn't stop there. She wants to ensure that families don't miss the tiny, often overlooked details that speak volumes about a facility's true character. How do the staff treat the residents? Are they patient and compassionate, or do they seem rushed, indifferent, and disengaged? How are the common areas? Do they encourage interaction, or do they feel like waiting rooms where people just exist, waiting for their time to pass? Clara's own experience has taught her that these little things, the way staff interact with residents, and the vibe in the common areas, are often the most revealing. The atmosphere is everything, she says, as if trying to make others understand that you can feel the difference between a place that cares and one that merely exists. Beyond the people, Clara also stresses that the physical environment plays a crucial role. You want to find a place that feels warm and welcoming, not cold and institutional, she says with heartfelt sincerity. Look for spaces that foster interaction, that have activities that encourage residents to socialize and stay engaged. A good facility should be a place where you're not just passing the time, but truly living, even as you grow older. And let's not forget about cleanliness. But Clara's take on cleanliness isn't just about what's visible. It's easy to be impressed by shiny floors and fresh-smelling rooms, she says. But make sure you check the hidden places, the bathrooms, the bedrooms, and the kitchen areas. They should be maintained to the highest standards. If a facility cuts corners on cleanliness, it's a red flag. Clara's message couldn't be clearer. Thorough research is not just recommended, it's essential. The decision you make could shape the rest of your life, and you owe it to yourself, your family, and your dignity to choose a place that truly cares for you. As Clara reflects on her experience, it's clear that finding the right nursing home is more than just finding a place to live. It's about finding a place where you can thrive, where your voice is heard, and where you're treated with the respect and care you deserve, no matter your age. Her advice is invaluable for anyone considering a nursing home, as it comes from a place of experience and deep, unshakable wisdom. The caregiver shortage. What you need to know. When Clara moved into the nursing home, she never could have predicted the overwhelming shortage of caregivers that would become a daily reality. It's one of the most shocking and unsettling aspects of her experience, and she still shakes her head in disbelief when she talks about it. "I never expected that," Clara says with a sigh, a mix of frustration and resignation in her voice. The staff were always doing their best, but there simply weren't enough of them to go around. In those moments, Clara's reality felt like something out of a nightmare, knowing that those entrusted with her care were doing all they could, but still falling short. The caregiver shortage is not just a minor inconvenience. It's a crisis that's sweeping through nursing homes across the country, and its consequences are staggering. It directly impacts the quality of care residents like Clara receive, and the emotional toll is undeniable. I can only imagine how disheartening it must have been for Clara on days when she found herself helpless, waiting for someone to assist her. "There were times when I had to wait hours just for someone to help me get out of bed or go to the bathroom," she explains, her voice laced with an unmistakable weariness. "And when you're waiting like that, you feel like you're not a priority. You start to feel invisible, as if you're just another name on a list. No one should have to endure that sense of neglect, especially in a place that's supposed to provide care and comfort." It's heartbreaking to think that Clara, or anyone in her shoes, would feel so dismissed at a time when they need empathy the most. The shortage of caregivers doesn't just affect the basic tasks. It's much deeper than that. Staff are stretched so thin, forced to juggle responsibilities and divide their attention in ways that simply aren't sustainable. It leads to the cruel reality of residents being neglected, both physically and emotionally. Clara recalls a particularly harrowing day when she wasn't able to get help quickly enough and ended up hurting herself in an attempt to move on her own. "It wasn't anyone's fault, they were just so busy," she admits quietly. But that's the problem. The shortage isn't just an inconvenience. It's a danger. It's not just about waiting. It's about the safety and well-being of vulnerable people who can't help themselves. The consequences are far-reaching: injuries, deteriorating health, and a sense of growing despair. Clara isn't alone in this experience. Many others are suffering in silence, enduring the same struggle. "I saw it happen to other residents too," she recalls, her eyes clouded with the memory. "They needed more attention than what was available, and it took a toll on their health." The lack of personalized care is more than just a logistical issue. It's a deeply human one. People are being left to suffer, and that suffering isn't just physical. The emotional toll of feeling invisible and neglected is just as damaging, if not more so. But it's not only the residents who are paying the price. Caregivers, already working under immense pressure, are facing burnout at alarming rates. The stress and exhaustion are palpable, making it even harder for them to offer the compassion and care that every resident deserves. "When you don't have enough caregivers, the system falls apart," Clara warns, her voice full of concern. "And as a resident, you're left with the consequences." It's a vicious cycle. Caregivers are overwhelmed and unable to meet the needs of residents, which in turn adds more pressure to an already strained system. This is why it's so crucial for families to fully understand the scope of this issue when choosing a nursing home. It's not enough to look at amenities or location. The staffing situation is at the core of whether a facility can provide the care its residents truly need. If the staff is too thinly spread, the care will inevitably fall short, no matter how much everyone tries to make it work. Clara's experience, painful, frustrating, and deeply impactful, should serve as a wake-up call. She's lived through the struggles, and now she's sharing her story to make sure others are aware of the harsh reality. Choosing a nursing home is one of the most important decisions anyone can make, and Clara wants others to know that without enough caregivers, the consequences can be devastating. In my opinion, no one should ever have to face such an uncertain, frightening situation in their later years. It's a painful reminder that, as a society, we need to do better. Better for our elderly, better for our caregivers, and better for the dignity of every person who deserves to age with respect and care. A lack of personalized care. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. One of the most emotionally devastating experiences Clara faced during her time in the nursing home was the profound realization that, in many ways, she was being treated as just another name on a long list. The cold, impersonal nature of it all left her feeling invisible, lost in a sea of faces. "I felt like I was just another number on a list," she confesses, her voice breaking under the weight of the truth that still lingers in her heart. For Clara, it wasn't just about the lack of attention. It was about feeling completely dismissed, as though her individuality no longer mattered. The overwhelming number of residents in nursing homes is something many people don't truly understand until they experience it firsthand. Clara quickly realized that personalized care, the kind that truly acknowledges who you are and what you need, isn't always possible in these institutional settings. It's not a lack of effort from the staff, but rather a systemic issue where resources and time are spread so thin that the care that's offered tends to be generalized. The day-to-day routines are often dictated by what the facility can manage, not what each resident requires to feel truly cared for. There were days when I'd ask for something as simple as organizing my medications or getting a special meal that I knew would make me feel better, but more often than not, it wasn't prioritized, Clara remembers, the disappointment still fresh in her words. "I felt like I was asking for the impossible when all I wanted was the basic dignity of having my needs met." The frustration of needing something that seemed so small yet felt so significant was a daily struggle. Clara could see the staff trying their best, but the crushing reality was that the care was often too standardized and too impersonal to meet her unique needs. She longed for the kind of attention that would have allowed her to truly thrive, a care plan made for her, not for the facility's convenience. And Clara wasn't the only one who felt this way. So many of the residents shared her sense of invisibility. Many of them were left in situations where their personal preferences, their health conditions, and their emotional needs were overlooked, neglected even. It wasn't just a lack of proper physical care, it was a lack of genuine emotional care, the kind that makes a person feel valued. For Clara, this absence of individualized care took a huge toll. It wasn't just about the physical decline. It was about feeling like her voice, her story, and her needs didn't matter. "I started feeling like I wasn't being listened to," she says with deep sadness. "I knew my body better than anyone, yet no one was giving me the specific care I so desperately needed." It wasn't just the medications or the therapy sessions that were being ignored. It was the underlying truth that she wasn't being recognized as a person with unique needs. She was becoming just another resident, just another patient to be processed through the system. Over time, this lack of proper care eroded her health, both physically and mentally. Clara, who had once been full of energy and vitality, now found herself drained, worn down by the indifference of the system meant to help her. Clara's story serves as a powerful and painful reminder of the importance of individualized care in nursing homes. "Everyone deserves to feel like they matter," she says, her voice tinged with both hope and sorrow. "When you enter a facility, it's essential that they see you for who you truly are. A person, not just a patient to be handled quickly and moved on from." She speaks from the heart, knowing that without this recognition, without that deeper understanding, residents are at risk of falling through the cracks. The consequences of this are far more than just emotional. They are life-threatening. Personalized care isn't just a luxury. It's a necessity for people to not only survive but to thrive in their later years. And when that care is missing, the results can be devastating. In Clara's words, "We all deserve to be treated like human beings, with dignity and respect. It's the least we can ask for in the final stages of life." The lack of personalized care not only affects the elderly physically, but it slowly chips away at their sense of self-worth, leaving them feeling like they're fading into the background of their own lives. No one should have to experience that, especially not when they've lived a lifetime full of stories, love, and wisdom. As we wrap up Clara's story, it's clear that personalized care is more than just a service. It's a reflection of our humanity. The impact of being seen, heard, and cared for as individuals is profound. We all deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, especially as we age. So, what have you learned from Clara's experience today? Take a moment to reflect on how personalized care can change lives, and what small changes we can make in our own lives to ensure we're treating others with the compassion and attention they deserve. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's one thing you've learned today that you're going to bring into practice in your own life? Please share in the comments below. If you like this video, please leave your comment, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories and insightful tips. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can continue to learn and grow. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments.